Okay, so misspoke a bit in the previous video, but we first have to get this glucose in our digestive tract into the circulatory system. So this here is the digestive tract. Bordering the digestive tract, you have the cells of the digestive tract. So there are the cells, and we can get this into our circulatory system once it passes through into the cells. Okay, so now we've detected a high blood glucose level. So step one, body detects high blood glucose level. A high blood glucose level. Okay, so step two, we're going to have the pancreas. So we're going to go to the pancreas, and the islet cells are going to secrete insulin. Islet cells are going to secrete insulin. Okay, so let me try to draw in a pancreas. Kind of looks like a little snake, with these little kind of circles put together. So there's my pancreas. Not the best pancreas, but it's going to secrete this hormone. This hormone's going to be insulin. Now insulin's going to be secreted into your bloodstream. Now other tissue that's surrounding your circulatory system, now with insulin they have the command to be absorbed. So step three, cells can take up glucose. Cells can take up glucose, and that's what happens. This hormone insulin goes to these tissue. There is a response from the tissue, and now they're going to take up this glucose. So step four, the blood glucose level is normalized. Blood glucose level is normalized. And now your tissues have glucose and they can use it to do respiration, the beginnings of respiration. So step five, the pancreas will stop producing insulin in a normal, healthy individual. Pancreas will stop producing insulin, hopefully. Okay, so here's how insulin works. Glucagon has a bit of an opposite effect. If the level's too low, it's going to command cells to release glucose into the circulatory system. Okay, now let's talk about a condition concerning glucose. That popular condition to speak about this is diabetes mellitus. This is characterized by dangerously high levels of glucose. And there are two types of diabetes. Type 1 is your own immune cells. So the immune cells, they actually attack your beta cells. So what does this mean? Our beta cells make insulin. But if we destroy these cells, if these cells are going to get destroyed, what this means is we have, let's use a different color for this. This means we have a lot less insulin in our system. What happens here is our cells cannot intake. They need this command to take up insulin. Without the command, they can't. So cells cannot take up insulin. So this basically translates to a continuously and dangerously high level of blood glucose level. A high blood glucose level. So why is this a bad thing? So in diabetes, this dangerously high level of glucose can interfere with your blood vessels, damage them. You have blood pressure problems, and you can also damage your kidneys, damage your kidneys, among other things. Okay, but in type 1, where your own body attacks it, that kind of reaction, we call this autoimmune. Autoimmune because your body's attacking itself. Okay, let's take a look at type 2. So in type 2, the acinar cells are normally producing, the islet cells are normally producing your islet cells are normally producing the insulin. So islet cells, no issue producing our insulin. So there is our insulin. The issue lies with the organ that it targets. So let's say here's a tissue, and this normally has receptors for insulin. So these guys here are receptors for insulin, or insulin receptors. In type 2 diabetes, the receptors are either they're gone, they've been, they receded back into the cell. So now the cell cannot respond to insulin. The cell cannot respond to insulin. So here is my circulatory system. This is how it gets to its target tissue. Insulin gets in, no problem here. But once it tries to reach its target, no good. No good. It cannot take up the free-floating glucose. So let's see here. So insulin receptors cannot respond to insulin. The cells cannot take up glucose. Cells cannot take up glucose, which means, again, a continuously and dangerously high blood glucose level. And then this is the one hallmark of diabetes. We call this end organ insensitivity because the issue is with the end organ, the target, and it's insensitive or won't respond to insulin. Okay, so here is, histology of the pancreas. You'll notice that the islet cells are called thus because they're kind of surrounded by these darker purple cells. They're like an island. So islet cells are right there. Everything else, the majority of the darker colored tissue, these are the acinar cells. And here's another example. Again, islet cells are, surrounded like little islands. Islet cells, islet cell right there. And everything else is pretty much the acinar cells, which are the exocrine function. So again, the acinar cells are the exocrine part, and the islet cells are the endocrine part. Are the endocrine part.